question. I know that as a believer and us walking with the Lord, and the Lord tugged at your heart, and the Lord tugged at your heart,
Right.
it was important to introduce spiritual confusion. Would one of you like to address how serious that is as we try to navigate those waters and create a relationship with the Lord? As a survivor,
Either one of us could respond to that, but
Why don't you take that one?
okay. Maya Angelou says in one of her books that the greatest need a lonely child has is the unshaking need for an unshakable God. And I've never met a survivor who wasn't confused about God or angry at God or thinking God was punishing them or any number of things. I know in my own story, I said I spent the first 10 years of my life begging God to make the abuse stop, and he didn't. And I spent the next 10 years being angry at God because he didn't. And then I spent probably another 20 years being very confused about God, but wanting to connect with him, but not knowing how. And it's only really been since I was 40-ish that I've really been able to accept the true character of God despite my own personal human experiences. Because we tend to see God the way we see our early caregivers, and add to that the other experiences we've had. And I had a very abusive second husband who tried to kill me. So the experiences we go through in this world kind of taint the way that we see God. So we have to go back and really do a deep dive into the scriptures and understand who God is, regardless of what our experience on earth has been.
absolutely. That's what I'm starting to do right now. One of the resources that I've been talking to the survivors about, this one book. It's called Women Abuse in the Bible, and how scriptures use and misuse
Right.
Yes.
to heal or to hurt.
Right.
Last name Kroger, and it's a really heavy read, but it's so needed. And I've already recommended this book to several survivors, and they've found it very helpful.
Okay.
In your experience, how many survivors have this situation where they can't get past because of the way they're viewing God?
Well, I would say the majority of them, maybe 70, 80%, come to these retreats believing that God is not trustworthy, believing that they can't trust God because he betrayed them. We try to help them see is that we live in a broken world, and God is not a dictator, and so he does not, this is not heaven, this is earth, and there will be sin and there will be brokenness, and we are all going to be a part of that. So we try to help them make peace with God so that they can engage with God. Some are more receptive than others. Some people are solid rocks. They believe whatever God has allowed, and they're okay. But the vast majority are really struggling with how could God let something evil happen in this world? And we see evil happen in this world every single day.
Right, right. And for the ones that do gain in awareness that God is a loving God, he's a good God, you see how they're able to flourish, how they're able to thrive with time and to work through those unaddressed issues.
Yes, like Susan said, probably 70 to 80%. That's a
high.
guesstimate.
That's
Come with anger issues toward God, or confusion, or just mostly apathy. They don't want to hear anything about God. They don't want to have any connection with Him. But I think the average age of people who come are like early 60s. So sometimes in those with the older age group, we see people that have resolved their issues with God, their spiritual confusion, but they're still dealing with a low self-esteem or putting up with abuse that they shouldn't put up with their current husband or whatever. So David Seamands years ago wrote a book called Healing for Damaged Emotions. And one of the things he says in there is that the salvation experience, as great and wonderful as that is not a shortcut to emotional health. And we are all affected by whatever childhood issues were there
Right.
are still there. So we're still not finding our voice or not living an accomplished life until we deal with those other psychologically damaged areas.
Makes a lot of sense.
And that's aside from our faith in God.
Right, right.
And I would suggest to any survivor that you find a trauma therapist. There's a therapist on every corner, and they all deal with different things, but make sure you get someone who is certified in trauma therapy. They will help you navigate all the past hurts and the current situation that you're living with. Susan and I do virtual counseling, and you can contact either one of us through our website, which is rachelsrest.org. And remember that Racheal is spelled Racheal.
Say it a little bit slower.
The website is rachelsrest.org, and it's Racheal is spelled Racheal. So Susan or I, either one, could help you with that with individual counseling. You're welcome to email us, call us. Our numbers are listed on the website. We would love to kind of give you some guidance, answer a question or two, or set up counseling.